The name's great, and I think people are going to love it. But I think what it really comes down to is nothing about how this group serves members is going to change.
It's the same team. Really, it's more of a new dawn of new programs, and we continue to grow that membership. That growth between membership and growth of vendors and services, nothing is changing. It's time to expand and be that bigger group.
Welcome into the Independent Thinking Podcast. This is your host, Rob Stott. Kind of selfishly as a communicator and someone that works in communications here at Nationwide Marketing Group, I enjoy being able to play a part in helping announce the new programs and offerings and things that we have going on here at Nationwide Marketing Group. And of late, one that we've been working on, and we're excited. If you were in Dallas for PrimeTime with us, and you're in the custom integration space, you heard about the new name. So that's kind of the news. The headline gives it away, I guess. But our home technology specialist nationwide group within Nationwide, the group of custom integrators, has rebranded and is now known as Oasys. Long name, Oasys Residential Technology Group, but Oasys for short. And it's the kind of culmination of a journey. I call it culmination, and it's really, as we dive into it with Hank Alexander, it's a jumping off point. But the name itself is kind of a culmination of a lot of work and a change in mindset and strategy for the CI group here within Nationwide. And excited to dive into it with Hank. And he's a guy that's been here sort of since the beginning, of the CI division here at Nationwide. And he's seen it evolve from the Specialty Electronics Network to HTSN to now Oasys. And he takes us on that journey of what it was like, over the years, these past 8 years of building this network and supporting these dealers. And, it was seeing his group grow and bringing in Andy Orozco and partnering with Azion Unlimited, and now what that means for Oasys moving forward. So a really cool conversation and opportunity, I think, to dive into it with Hank just days, really hours after the announcement's made here at PrimeTime. So a lot of fun, excited to share it with you, and let's dive into it. So this is Hank Alexander, the director of Oasys here on the Independent Thinking Podcast. All right, we are back on the Independent Thinking Podcast and joined today by the director of Oasys Residential Technology Group,
Boom.
Hank Alexander. Boom, mic drop. How does that sound, Hank?
Sounds great. That's the first time I think I've really actually heard it, live done that way. That's awesome. How you doing, Rob?
I'm doing well, man. Excited. This is a fun one. They're always fun with you, but I mean, we're not breaking news, because officially, as this publishes, the news dropped yesterday. And for those that are with us in Dallas for PrimeTime, the news dropped on Sunday that there's some rebranding going on. HTSN, Home Technology Specialist Nationwide, no more. Oasys Residential Technology Group from here on out. So, I mean, that's the news. That's what we're here to talk about today. And excited to get to dive into that with you and learn more about this.
Excited, driving HTSN off into the sunset, man.
No, and we have I know you guys and me included, we've got some more work to do before we get to the fully integrated point of this, but a great opportunity at PrimeTime to talk about it with members and get them on board as we start to move forward. But let's start there. Tell me about this name, about Oasys. That's what we've got the long name and that subtitle underneath, but this is Oasys. So HTSN becomes Oasys. And so walk us through the name itself, the process of getting there to this point, and really what it means to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So first, thanks. It was always fun to be here with you guys, and I appreciate everything. So Oasys, we talked about, I'll rewind the clock here just a little bit, like in October, coming out of CEDIA in Dallas. We all got the team together. Richard Gleick, Andy Orozco, who just joined the team, myself, Dean Satilli. We locked ourselves in a room for about 3 or 4 days in Atlanta and started to talk about just where we're going and all of these things. And we brought up the idea at that point of rebranding HTSN. And it really kind of comes out of being a more inclusive group, bigger group. We're growing membership, we're growing vendors, changing things up, doing things a little differently, and felt it was time to just kind of change the name and grow a little. And I started here. It's been a pleasure to work here for 8 years. It's hard to believe. It feels like,
It
like day
flies,
one.
man.
I'm just I love it. And, HTSN came out of our alliance with HTSA 8 years ago, and made great sense. And it was perfect then. Right. And it just kind of, as we evolved as a group, and fast forward to 2021 when we acquired Oasys, and that really set us on this path of growing CI and all of these things, and of course hiring Andy Roscoe. And
Yep.
so it really was time to change things up and lose that really long handle of home technology specialists nationwide. And we hired a company and had a lot of fun doing this, and Oasys.
And I know, and it's a fun name, and obviously the play, on the SYS at the end, systems, and
Yep.
it has a nice ring to it too. And I know, there were options galore thrown out there for possible names. Like, what, when you think about Oasys, what excites you about it? And I mean, even if you want to, feel free to walk us through the process of what it was like, landing on this and finding a name that you think suits this group moving forward.
Yeah, so we hired a branding company and walked them through what our vision was, where we were at, our vision, what kind of how we see things. And they came back with some questions, and then they came back with some names. And we were like, we all really liked Oasys very early on, and there were a couple of others, and asked them to come back to us again. And there were a couple of names on that second round that were funny to us. Like, one of them sounded like a women's clothing line, um, an adult entertainer maybe. It was like, it was just fun. And we just kept coming back to Oasys, and
Yeah.
it felt like, your home is your oasis. It felt like it was a very comfortable thing. It was a branding that we could get behind. It really meant it meant a lot. When you bring the SYS into
Yeah.
it, I mean, there was just it just felt really good with where we were headed.
And even,
And
I mean, getting even into like the nerdy side, the communications and branding in me, seeing even the little house logo that's next to it, it's that gentle nod to the former brand, right? Because if anyone that knows the HTSN logo and what it was, it had the roof over it, and
at
I
the
think even the
house,
little wireless network sort
yep,
of coming out of the chimney stack, if you will. And it's just a slight, rework of that,
yep.
and a nod to the former name, and keeping it alive in sort of what's moving forward.
Well, in the new logo, if you look at that house and
Yeah.
those like 5 pillars, and I don't know that it was always meant this way, but I look at those 5 pillars as like audio, video, lighting, shades, integration, right? Those kind
Yeah.
of are foundations of what we're doing. And so, again, I don't know that that's the way it was always intended, but you look at that and you go, wow, those are kind of the 5 pillars of Oasys. And it's the house, and the whole, it just started to really kind of fit together and really play really well. And the
When I
process was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Oasisgroup.org, and it's
Yeah,
just
and
fun
I mean, I think you hit on it too, because the name, it was one of the first that was thrown out there, and it's sort of like you don't want to believe that it's right the first time you're like, well, we're supposed to go through this whole process and this whole kumbaya moment of like, ta-da, and the name that like it fits, and but it was there throughout the whole process, and I think that's what's cool, even despite all of the other possibilities that were thrown out there, and the fun that you guys had as a team. And when it's right, and the fact that you kind of kept going back to it, it sort of, and it has meaning.
yeah. And we had a lot of fun with it. Like
Yeah.
Andy and I and Richard, we all talked to our spouses, like, in the early goings of this thing, like, what does this, if I say this name, like, what does that? And we do that like over a weekend. And then Monday we would start to compare notes about, like where we were at on things. And it's funny because Oasis always kind of came back up to that top, and
Right.
it always, and so we knew we were kind of onto something with it. And but it has been a fun process getting some different,
Yeah.
like I said, there's been some crazy stuff.
Well, well, it was again just a fun project, and obviously, to be able to have this name and move forward with it. The name's great, and I think people are going to love it. But I think what it really comes down to is, nothing about. Well, we say nothing. You guys, nothing about how this group serves members is going to change. Like that's what we boil it down to. Yeah, it's a new name and a new branding and look and feel, but like the way you guys go about serving the membership of Oasis, and how you tackle, you mentioned it, the vendor programs and the ways you serve these dealers, that's not going to change.
No, it's the same team. I'm here. Andy Orozco's here. Dean Satilli is still, here. Randy Durr on Exchange and his team. Everybody's still here. Really, it's more of a new dawn of new programs. So, we announced RTI and Pro Control and Bluestream and IC Real Time, our new vendors. We're starting down the path of lighting. We've got a relationship with a lighting designer, Kaleidolite. So a lot of really exciting things here at the show that we're announcing, and we continue to grow that membership. I look back over the last 12 or 13 months, and January of 22, HTSN was 191 members. Really fun group of people. In January of 2023, we were 250 members, right? So we've grown a lot in the last 12 months. And that growth between membership and growth of vendors and services, our CEDIA partnership, Oasis is still going to take care of CEDIA dues for our members. That's going to continue. We have a great partnership on the CEDIA education side. Oasis members are still going to have their education. Nothing is changing. It's just a bigger group, and it's time to expand and be that bigger group.
No, that's awesome. And you mentioned that growth and some of the things that you guys are doing. What excites you sort of about now that I mean the name, like you said, the name's the name. It's a jumping off point for sort of what the plan is now moving forward for Oasis. And I know a lot of that'll come to a head and get explained at Summit, which happens in May in Nashville, and the first ever. We're at a handful of summits for the CI group, but the first ever Oasis summit. So that'll be kind of fun to be at. But what's it? What is the feeling and what excites you about that potential for continued growth? Because that's a large chunk to add to a big percentage of the group to grow in just a year. So I mean I know you're just getting started here.
Yeah. So yeah, we are. We want to be close to that 400 members by the end of the year. We really want to grow Oasis to that 600 member level. More brands, more services. At the Oasis, can I say first annual Oasis Summit?
Yeah, right.
The first annual Oasis Summit in May. We'll have vital management there, right? So that's a divergence. It's not just one-on-ones with vendors and members. It's business coaching and developing your business. And we'll have Jason Sayin there talking about process management and all of those things, right? Obviously, CEDIA will be there. We'll be doing some lighting classes with Kaleidolite. So it really is a huge jumping off point. And yeah, a more inclusive, a bigger group is
Right.
really where.
And we
Hiring field team, and
yeah.
we got all kinds of fun stuff. So it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I mean, it's for anyone that's read the press release and or seen coverage in the trade media. We mentioned it in there that it's a jumping off point for this redefined strategy of sort of like you said, more inclusive, working on those dealers, giving opportunity to the integrators that maybe in the past where I think Andy's quoted in that release even says they were often overlooked or
Yeah.
kind of skipped over from the group mentality and you know that talk about going after that dealer and why, not necessarily why, joining. I mean, don't make the pitch to join, right? But like talk about why that this is an opportunity for that. Make the pitch to join. Go
I'll
for it.
make the pitch.
You do you. But like, what is it about, that level of dealer? I think that the opportunity and why go after them and why try to be that space for them to grow.
A lot, and it's a great question because a lot of people just don't know what a group does. Like they just don't know. And so you got to kind of educate a little bit about what it is we do. And we always say, that people come for programs, they stay for peer-to-peer and education and those kinds of things. I don't know, we've got hundreds of different services, business insurance and credit card swipe rates and finance, all these different things that people just don't realize how much money they're leaving on the table. And especially as you start to look at bringing people up through the business and they don't know what a group does and they don't know that there's additional value in programs and additional value in that peer-to-peer. And what they start to find out when they come to a group meeting is some of the same growing pains that they're having, somebody else in the room has already had. And they can help them through a lot of those things like, oh, we're doing this. And our teams use a Slack channel to communicate, or our teams do this, or we found this business insurance because of the relationship that Oasys has with Cedia. And there's all of those things that they start to look at that, when you're starting a business, you're wearing the accounting hat, and then you're wearing the programmer's hat, and then you're wearing the customer service hat because something goes wrong, and then you got to unload a delivery truck and you got to reload the van, and you're wearing all these hats. And so when you're starting it, you don't know how to really do some of these things. And as you start to grow, you just keep doing the same bad habits. And so we want to help you grow, maybe change some of those bad habits, improve accounting, improve marketing, improve communication with your team. One of the things that I think most integrators are most challenged with is human resources. And we have a great HR team here, and we want to help with some of those things so that, they know how to do background checks and drug tests and hire and form a team and grow the team and what it means to grow that team and all those kinds of things. So there's all those things that going after a different section of dealer, they just don't know that they're having some of those, or they know they're having some of those struggles. They just don't know what who to turn to. And we want to be that person that they can turn to for that help.
Right. And I mean, if you think about it, really, that level of dealer, I mean, it's kind of that saying of they don't know what they don't know, right? So you're kind of being that informant for them on, the opportunities it takes, or not necessarily even just, I mean, yeah, you guys are experts in this, but you can also connect them with the businesses that have gone through these growing pains and gotten over the hurdles, and now they are, larger businesses and have expanded and continue to succeed today. So it's almost like, I don't want to call it a life raft necessarily, but you're kind of helping them get from the infancy phase to a point where, they're like that teenager that you kind of trust on their own, right? And then they can go and have that professional career and grow into that, that business that has sustained processes and they're able to succeed and, grow at the end of the day.
Well, don't think of Oasys as a buying group. We're a
Right.
mentoring, right?
Yeah.
This is, we're here to help you and mentor and whatever the problems are, and sometimes truthfully, we may not know what all the problems are, right? I mean, somebody may go, hey, I'm having this, this is something that's going on in my business, and we can dig in and find the solution. So it's not a buying group, it's a mentoring group. And it's, we're here to help you out on those things.
No, that's awesome. And I'm excited. It excites me, not even just with the name, but like seeing all of these things because you're just over the top about it. And it's
Yeah.
awesome to see like how excited you are about the name and everything that you guys are doing. So I can't wait to see sort of, what this is going to look like moving forward. Cause I mean, yeah, you got a lot of work ahead of you, but it's paying off and you're starting to see it with the name and then everything else you guys got going on. And I mean, it's cool for me from my seat. So I can only imagine how it is for you. What having been here almost since the inception of this group within Nationwide to now see it where it is today.
I was talking to somebody a couple of days ago, and I used the Oasys name, and I started to kind of smile, and they were like, "That's a smile I haven't seen." It, I love my job, but they were like, "That's kind of cool when you say it and you
Yeah.
smile." It's like, yeah, because I know what it means, and there's a lot of ownership and things on my side, and Andy Orozco and Richard Gleiks. I mean, we all locked ourselves into meetings to go over this and come up with this. There's a lot of ownership on our side, and I say the name Oasys Residential Technology Group, and I smile,
Yeah.
and because I know what that means in the business. I know what that means to the channel, and I know what it's really cool things coming on it.
No, I mean, talk. I'd love you mentioned it a little bit at the top about sort of how this group has evolved over time. I think back to what was your first day like coming into Nationwide in this at the time it was the Specialty Electronics Network if I'm right, so
It,
SEN and
it was SEN. It was a great group of people, great brands, great members. I remember it very well. My first day, I'd been on actually for a couple of days, but my first real official day was 8 years ago in PrimeTime in Dallas.
oh
So
wow,
back,
what do you know?
yeah, like 8 years, it's come full circle. Um, and talk about drinking from the fire hydrant, right? And kind of knew at that time, we were probably going to rebrand SEN to HTSN because of the alliance that Tom Hickman and HTSA and we'd all started to embark upon. And that was a great relationship and a great, I mean, phenomenal relationship. And as it just evolved over time, um, we knew that there was more to that, and we knew that we wanted to continue to grow. And again, that's where we went in 2021 and brought Richard Gleiks and Patrick and Dan and Karen and their whole team into the Nationwide family, and that's been phenomenal. And that again kind of set us on the road of growing the CI side of things, and we
Yeah.
knew we wanted to really grow that business. And you know the membership really embraced HTSN
Mhm.
when we rebranded from SEN to HTSN. Again, didn't change the DNA of the group. It didn't
Yeah.
change, it was just it was a new branding, and the membership really embraced that. And the membership, I've talked to a handful of people about it, and our dealer advisory board and some of those folks, and they've embraced it. Like when we kind of go down the whole thing, it's like we're just sunsetting this, and
Yeah.
it's a new dawn, and anyway, I've
No,
said
it's
it.
awesome. I get it. I get it, man. And so how have the challenges like the just for the integration business, at 2015 versus 2023, what challenges were they facing back then? And I mean, are any of those still the same or, what compared to 23, what are they facing today?
Well, some challenges still exist. Yeah. Like, there are new challenges. Obviously, we went through a pandemic, and I tell my guys, our members, all the time that there was a couple of outlier years there, right? Where you've got some new challenges. We're going to have some headwinds in 23. But that's what a group does, is helps you through those challenges. It helps you be more profitable. We can help you through marketing. It's time to go back and start maybe going back through some of your old dealer lists or your old client lists,
Yeah.
and start to generate some, hey, it's time to update. We haven't been to your house and you haven't updated your system since 2018 or whatever it might be. So, and there's all kinds of new technology. You think of the evolution of TV and evolution of control and shades and lighting and all of those things. 2015, the lighting business was just the same old lighting business. The electrician or a lighting designer and the integrator wasn't involved in that. And that's starting to really flip on its head now. And the integrator's involved in that, not just from the control side of it, but providing the actual fixtures and, with Kaleidolite, the actual design. That wasn't even thought of in 2015. Breaking that old lighting model was not even like on anybody's radar screen. And where we've come with shades, like the shading business, and growing that side of the business. So yeah, it's wildly different. And I was joking with somebody a while back. I said, I think it's the thing I like the most about CE, consumer electronics and custom integration, is that constant change.
Yeah.
I thrive in an environment of change, and I like the new challenges, and that change keeps us all going. And there's going to be changes this year, and like I said, it's time to kind of maybe open up the book of the old clients and go back to that job you did in 2015 and talk about new lighting, right, and about shades. There's some great retrofit shade applications out there, battery powered shades and shades that use solar panels, and I mean all of that stuff. It's a wildly different business.
The funny that obviously, you get to stay up with those technologies and see them change and develop those vendor relationships, as part of the group. Going back to your integrator days, can you imagine yourself, doing lighting and shading?
Shading a little bit. So I embarked on some shading projects, and all I can say is measure twice and then measure again and cut once. It was, certainly it's different today than it was when I was doing integration. Lighting, absolutely not. Like, I mean, that was Sparky. We always called it, like, that's Sparky's job. And so we just didn't, we knew we were maybe integrating panels and some of those kinds of things and controlling some lights, but that was a lighting designer and the electrician and those guys doing that. Never had any, I mean, it wasn't going to happen. We were, AV and, right, and maybe a little bit of shade. But that wasn't on the radar screen when I was doing integration by any means. So no. It's been a great evolution, right, to see that. And
heck yeah.
Somebody asked me, they go, what if there's another, you got the 5 pillars of Oasys, what if there's one more? And I go, we'll add another pillar.
Right,
like the house will grow.
We'll grow. The smokestack. We'll bring the smokestack back, and
I don't know about that, Rob. I think the smokestack is officially retired. I told Andy Roscoe the other day, I said, I've officially started to pull the smokestack and stuff off of some of my old sweaters and pullovers. And
you know what? No, that when I'm sure, as we're talking about it and being in prime time, it hits and it feels real. But that Oasys Summit in Nashville, once we start seeing, I know the waffle quarter zips will be back and have some different logo treatment. And that's when, the second you throw on your first Oasys quarter zip, that's when I know it's really going to feel real. So
a new hat and a new Oasys quarter zip. And I might, don't tell the hotel. The hotel is, so don't tell the hotel because it's brand new.
Right.
Downtown Nashville hotel. Don't tell them I might take a spin again on an e-bike through the hotel. You never know.
We don't want to get you in trouble.
Well, yeah, and don't tell our HR that I did.
Right. No.
My health insurance, like, broken arm.
No, that's all. I cannot wait to get there and see what that first Oasys Summit is like. But like we said, a lot of work to do until then, and excited to help you get the word out about this new name and the same group, new name, same group, and excited to see you guys on the journey.
It's same group of people, whole new programs and whole new offerings, and there's a lot of stuff. So same group, same DNA and magic and fun, just a whole lot more to offer. So it's it's funny at PrimeTime seeing some HTSN signs, and catching a little bit of flack from people like, well, I thought it was Oasys. I was like, yeah, but we couldn't, there's this fine
the
line
coming
of
out party.
print and not print and all of those things, right? So anyway, it's fun to sunset HTSN. It's not just, ripping the Band-Aid off and gone. There's obviously going to be some legacy there. And, but it's fun to have Oasys here.
Heck yeah. Well, it'll all come together here in just a few more weeks when we get together in May.
Las Vegas.
Hey, we'll see you there.
All right. Thanks, Rob. Good to see you.
Awesome. And thanks again to Hank. Like I said, I mean, you can kind of tell his excitement. He said it during the podcast that it's neat to see him be so excited about this change and what it means for the group. And of course, at the end of the day, it's just a name, but it's all about how the group's going to go about serving the custom integrators within the Oasys network. And it's just a jumping off point. This is just the start. So I look forward to getting to Nashville for that summit and seeing what's going on. So appreciate him taking the time. And as always, appreciate you listening to the Independent Thinking Podcast. And we'll catch you next time.